Hello students, in the last class we have studied the article Cartesian products. In that article we have mainly studied some definitions and examples. In definitions we have studied the indexed function, then the index set, indexed family of sets, then we have also defined the coordinate of x, then the Cartesian product of the indexed family, and also dealt with some examples based on it for understanding purpose. Now, in the today's class, we are going to study the next article, which is the finite sets. And in this article, we are going to study, first of all, the definition of finite set and then the cardinality of the set. After that, we are going to prove some important results about the finite sets as the lemmas, theorems and corollaries. So, let us begin with the definition of the finite set. So, the definition of the finite set is, a set is said to be finite if there is a bijective correspondence of A with some section of the positive integers. Bijective correspondence means a mapping which is both 1-1 and on-to, that is injective and surjective. Then we call it as a bijective correspondence. So, how we have defined the finite set? A set is said to be finite if there is a bijective correspondence, means injective and surjective mapping of A with some section of the positive integer. Means if Z plus is the set of positive integers and if we consider the section of Z plus by some integer n, then if there is a bijective correspondence between set A and the section of positive integers, then the set A is said to be finite. That is, set A is finite if it is either empty or if there is a bijection f from set A into the set containing elements 1, 2, 3 up to n for some positive integer n. No doubt this is a section of set of positive integers by the positive integer n that we have already seen earlier. Next, in the first case means in the when A is empty. So, if A is an empty set, then we will say that A has cardinality 0. So, if a set is empty, then we say that its cardinality is 0, or in the other words, that set has 0 cardinality. Next one, in the latter case means if there is a bijection f from set A to the set containing elements 1, 2 up to n, then we say that set A has cardinality n. Then we say that set A has cardinality n. Okay, which in the other words we can say that if the set A has n number of elements, then we say that that set has the cardinality n. So, in the other words, cardinality of a set means the number of elements contained in the set, and definitely cardinality of a set is defined only for the finite sets. Next, for instance, the set containing elements 1, 2 and so on up to n has cardinality n. Okay, as it has n elements, therefore its cardinality is n. For it is in bijective correspondence with itself under the identity function. Means if consider identity function from this set containing elements 1, 2 up to n with itself, then obviously that identity mapping will be the bijective correspondence. And therefore, by our definition of the cardinality of a set A, we have the cardinality of this set as the n. Okay, next one is the lemma 6.1, and the statement is, let n be a positive integer, let A be a set, let A naught be an element of A, then there exists a bijective correspondence f of the set A with the set containing elements 1, 2, 3 up to n plus 1, if and only if there exists a bijective correspondence G of the set A minus singleton set A0 with the set 1, 2, 3 up to n. As there is if and only if phrase in the statement of the lemma, therefore, to prove this result, we have to prove the necessary part as well as sufficient part, which means that there are two parts in the proof of this lemma. And in the first part, let us suppose that there is a bijective correspondence from the set A minus singleton A0 into the set containing elements 1, 2, 3 up to n, then we will show that there is a bijective correspondence from the set A to the set containing elements 1, 2, 3 up to n plus 1, and then we have to prove the converse part of the first part. Okay, let us begin with the proof of the first part. So proof. Let us first assume that there is a bijective correspondence G from the set A minus singleton A0 to the set containing elements 1, 2, 3 up to n. Next, then we will define a function f from A to the set containing elements 1, 2, 3 up to n plus 1, such that we will define it, the function f as f of x is equal to g of x for every x belongs to the set A minus singleton A0, and f of A naught is equal to the n plus 1. Okay, if the function f is defined in such a way, then obviously f is a 1, 1 and onto, means injective and surjective, and hence it is a bijective function also. So hence f is a bijective. Why f is bijective? Because G is already bijective and we have just added one element in the domain of G to get the domain of f, and also we have added one element in the range of G to get the range of f, and those additional elements of the domain and range we have set in such a way that the image of that additional element of the domain is the additional element of the range. So definitely then f is also a bijective function. Okay, so this part is very simple. Now let us move to the second part, which is the converse of this part. Now to prove the converse, let us suppose that there is a bijective correspondence f from the set A to the set containing elements 1, 2, 3 up to n plus 1. Next, now we have to show that then G is a bijective correspondence from the set A minus singleton A0 to the set 1, 2, 3 up to n. So next, if f maps A naught to the number n plus 1, then obviously the result is easy. Why it is so? Because if f maps A naught to the n plus 1, then A minus singleton A naught will map the function f to the set 1, 2, 3 up to n, and it will be the bijection as required. Next, if f maps A naught to the element n plus 1, then in that case the restriction function f restricted to A minus singleton A naught is the desired bijective correspondence, means in that case we will get the bijective correspondence between the set A minus singleton A naught with the set containing elements 1, 2, 3 up to n, which is required. Next, if it is not, means if the image of A naught is not n plus 1, then what happens? That also we have to consider. So otherwise means if this does not hold, then let f of A naught is equal to m. Let us suppose that image of A naught under the function f is m, and let A1 be the point in A such that f of A1 equal to n plus 1. It is not compulsory that A1 should have its image n plus 1. There may be any element in the domain A which has its image n plus 1. It can be A5, it can be A10, it can be any member. For our convenience, we are supposing that the element A1 is such that its image is n plus 1. Okay, then clearly A1 is not equal to A naught. Why it is so? Because f of A naught is m and f of A1 is n plus 1, and as m is not equal to n plus 1 and the mapping f is injective, means 1 to 1, therefore A1 and A naught cannot be equal. Next, now we will define a function h from the set A to the set containing elements 1, 2, 3 up to n plus 1 in such a way that h of A naught equal to n plus 1, h of A1 is equal to m, and h of x is equal to f of x for every x belongs to the set A minus singleton A naught minus singleton A1. Okay, means if from the set A, if we take out two elements, those are the A naught and A1, then for those remaining set A, h of x is equal to f of x. Okay, let us see this by means of the figure, then the concept will be clear. How the mapping is? The mapping F is suppose defined as such. Under the mapping F, image of A0 is M and image of A1 is n plus 1. Then we are defining another mapping H such that image of A0 is n plus 1 and image of A1 is M. Like such is the mapping H. Then obviously H is a bijection. Why H is a bijection? Because images of remaining elements are as it is. Only we are changing the images of A0 and A1 and they are exchanged. Images are exchanged. So then obviously the restriction map H restricted to A minus singleton A0 is the bijective function from the set A minus singleton A0 with the set 1, 2, 3 up to n, and which means that there exists a bijective correspondence from the set A minus singleton A0 with the set 1, 2, 3 up to n, which means that the mapping G in this case is the required bijective correspondence. Hence we have proved the converse part also, and as both the parts are proved, therefore the complete result we have proved. So this completes the proof of the lemma 6.1. Lemma 6.1 was very important lemma. It was very important result. Now using that lemma, we are going to prove some more results about the finite sets. So let us begin with the theorem 6.2. Statement of the theorem 6.2 is, let A be a set. Suppose that there exists a bijection F from the set A to the set containing elements 1, 2, 3 up to n for some n belongs to Z plus, means n is some positive integer. Let B be a proper subset of A, then there exists no bijection G from the set B into the set 1, 2, 3 up to n. But provided B is not equal to phi, there exists a bijection H from B into the set 1, 2, 3 up to m for some m less than n. What we have to prove here? We have to prove that if A is a set, okay, and there is a bijection between the set A and the set containing n elements, then there cannot be a bijection from the set B with the set 1, 2, 3 up to n, where B is a proper subset of A. But obviously, if B is a proper subset of A, then there can exist a bijection between the set B and the set containing elements 1, 2, 3 up to m, where m is less than n. So that we are going to prove. Proof of this. First of all, if B is equal to phi, if B is an empty set, the domain itself is empty. In that case, the bijective correspondence cannot be defined. Next one. Now we will prove the result by the induction. We are going to use the mathematical induction to prove the result. Let capital C be the subset of Z plus means the set of positive integers, consisting of those integers n for which the theorem holds. Means suppose the theorem holds for all the subsets C of Z plus, which consist of integers n. Next one. Then we shall show that C is inductive. Means on the C we are going to use the induction principle, and therefore we will conclude that for the C equal to Z plus also the result is true. Okay, where n can be any positive integer. So first of all, we will show that the theorem is true for n equal to 1. Means if n equal to 1 means if the set C contains only one element. So let us suppose that set A consists of a single element A and its only proper subset B is the empty set. We know that singleton set has only one proper subset, and then definitely that proper subset is the empty set. Therefore the result is true for n equal to 1. Now let us check for the next value of the n. Okay. Now assume that the result is true for some n. Then we will prove that it is true for n plus 1. The process of mathematical induction is known to us. We have used it several times right from the 11th standard. Okay. So that method we are going to use. We are supposing that the result is true for some positive integer n. Then using that we have to show that the result is also true for the next positive integer, means for the n plus 1. So suppose that F is a mapping from the set A to the set 1, 2, 3 up to n plus 1 is a bijection, means it is a injective and surjective mapping. And let capital B is a non-empty proper subset of A. We choose an element A0 of the set B and an element A1 of the set A minus B. And then if we apply the lemma which we have proved just now, that is the lemma 6.1, then obviously we conclude that there exists a bijection G from the set A minus singleton A0 to the set 1, 2, 3 up to n. Okay, as we have shown in the proof of the lemma 6.1, here also we will get a bijection G between the set A minus singleton A0 with the set 1, 2, 3 up to n. Next, now as B minus singleton A0 is a proper subset of A minus singleton A0 and A1 belongs to the set A minus singleton A0 and not the set B minus singleton A0. Okay, therefore B minus singleton A0 is a proper subset of A minus singleton A0. Next one. Now, as we have assumed that the theorem is true for the integer n, therefore we conclude that there exists no bijection H from the set B minus singleton A0 with the set 1, 2, 3 up to n. And number second, either B minus singleton A0 is empty or there exists a bijection K between the sets B minus singleton A0 and the set 1, 2, 3 up to P for some integer P less than n. Next, now then by the lemma 6.1 which we proved some time before, by that lemma, if we combine that lemma with this first one statement, okay, number one statement, then this implies that there is no bijection of set B with the set 1, 2, 3 up to n plus 1. Okay, and this is the, we have shown that first part of the result. Okay, so in this way we have shown the first part of the result. Next, now we'll prove the second part of the result. So for that purpose, we note that if the set B minus singleton A0 is equal to empty, then there is a bijection of set B with the set singleton 1. Okay, if B minus singleton A0 is equal to empty set, then there is a bijection of the set B with the set containing only one element, that is 1. And if B minus singleton A0 is not equal to phi, then we will apply the lemma 6.1, means the lemma which was proved some time before. Then using that lemma and combining it with the statement number 2, combining it with this statement number 2, then we conclude that there is a bijection of set B with the set 1, 2, 3 up to P plus 1. Then in both cases, there is a bijection of set B. In first part we also have shown there is a bijection, in the second part also we have shown there is a bijection. So therefore, in both the cases, there is a bijection of B with the set 1, 2, 3 up to m, where m is some positive integer less than n plus 1. And this is the what we are wishing to prove it. So we have proved this, and therefore by the induction we can say that the theorem is true for all the positive integers n, means for all n belongs to z plus. So like such we have proved this theorem 6.2. Now after proving the theorem 6.2, we are going to prove 5 corollaries based on this theorem 6.2. Let us begin with the first one corollary, and its number is 6.3. So corollary 6.3. If A is finite, then there is no bijection of A with a proper subset of itself. In this corollary, we have to prove that there do not exist a bijection between a finite set and its proper subset. Okay, so this we are going to prove. Proof of this is very simple. Suppose that set B is a proper subset of A. We are supposing that A is a finite set and B is some proper subset of A. And let us suppose that F from A to B is a bijection. We are supposing that there exists a bijection. Then obviously, to prove the result, we should arrive at contradiction. Okay. So then by assumption, as we have supposed that f from A to B is a bijection, then by our assumption there is a bijection G from the set A with the set 1, 2, 3 up to n for some positive integer n. And as f and g both are bijections, therefore there exists a composite function GO f inverse, and we know that the composition of two bijective correspondences is also a bijective correspondence. So therefore GO f inverse is also a bijection, and it will be a bijection from the set B with the set 1, 2, 3 up to n, okay, which is a contradiction. And as we have obtained a contradiction, this contradiction is due to the supposition that B, which is a proper subset of A, there exists a bijection between A and B. So this is a contradiction to our supposition, which means that our supposition must be wrong, and hence we contradict that, and by this contradiction we conclude that there cannot exist a bijection between a finite set and its a proper subset. So like such we have proved the corollary number 6.3. Now next one is the corollary 6.4. Corollary 6.4. Z plus is not finite, means the set of positive integers is not finite. Next one, we'll prove this one. So we know that Z plus is the set of positive integers, okay. So the function f from Z plus to the Z plus minus singleton 1 defined by f of n equal to n plus 1 is a bijection of Z plus with a proper subset of itself, okay. We are defining a function f which is from Z plus to the set Z plus minus singleton 1. How it is defined? It is defined as f of n is equal to n plus 1. Means we will check what are the images of elements of domain in the range set. To understand this example clearly, I have drawn a figure here. Let us see, observe in this diagram. This is our domain, which is Z plus, that is the set of positive integers, and this is the range set, which is the set Z plus minus singleton 1. Means from the set of all positive integers we have just dropped one element, and that is the 1 itself. So how the mapping f is defined? F is the mapping which is defined as f of n is equal to n plus 1. Like such this mapping f is defined, okay. F of n is n plus 1, which means that in that one put the value of n equal to 1 first of all. So image of 1 is obviously 1 plus 1, means it is 2. Image of 1 is 2. Next, image of 2 is 2 plus 1, means it is 3. Next, image of 3 is 3 plus 1, means it is 4. Next, image of 4 is 4 plus 1, means it is 5. Next, image of 5 is 5 plus 1, means it is 6. Next, image of 6 is 6 plus 1, means it is 7. And finally, image of 7 is 7 plus 1, that is 8. There are infinitely many elements in both sets, domain as well as range set. But for understanding purpose, we are considering only some finite number of elements, okay. And then obviously from this one diagram, we observe that the mapping f, which is from the set Z plus with the set Z plus minus singleton 1, is a injective as well as surjective mapping. Why it is injective? Because every element of the domain has distinct image under that mapping, therefore it is injective. And it is surjective because if we consider any element from the range set, that is from the set Z plus minus singleton 1, then its pre-image will be obviously 1 less than that number, and which will be definitely again a positive integer. So image of every element of the range set is present in the domain. Therefore the mapping is surjective also. So therefore the mapping f, which is from Z plus to the set Z plus minus singleton 1, is both injective and surjective, and therefore it is bijective correspondence. Okay. So like such we have defined a bijective correspondence, and as there exists a bijective correspondence of Z plus with a proper subset of itself. Z plus minus singleton 1 is a proper subset of Z plus, and we have shown that there exists a bijective correspondence between the set Z plus and a proper subset of Z plus, which means that therefore by the corollary 6.3 the set Z plus cannot be finite, Okay, therefore the set Z plus, which is the set of all positive integers, is infinite set. Now next one is the corollary 6.5. Its statement is, the cardinality of a finite set A is uniquely determined by A. The cardinality of a finite set A is uniquely determined by A. We will prove this corollary. Let M is less than N, and suppose that there are bijective correspondences F from set A with the set 1, 2, 3 up to N, and another bijective correspondence is G between the set A and the set containing elements 1, 2, 3 up to M. Okay, we are supposing that F and G both are the bijective correspondences of the set A with the set 1, 2, 3 up to N and with the set 1, 2, 3 up to M respectively. Then let us consider their composition. Then the composite mapping GOF inverse, definitely this will be a mapping from the set 1, 2, 3 up to N up to the set 1, 2, 3 up to M. This is a mapping. GOF inverse is a mapping from the domain of F inverse to the range of G. Okay, domain of F inverse will be definitely 1, 2, 3 up to N and range of G is 1, 2 up to M. So therefore GOF inverse is composition of F and G, and it is a mapping from 1, 2, 3 up to N into the set 1, 2, 3 up to M. And as we know that the composition of two bijective correspondences is again a bijective correspondence. Therefore this mapping GOF inverse is a bijective mapping. So we have shown that there exists a bijective correspondence between a finite set 1, 2, 3 up to N with its proper subset 1, 2, 3 up to M, which obviously is a contradiction to the corollary 6.3 which we have proved some time before. And therefore, as we are getting a contradiction to the corollary 6.3, therefore this means that what we have supposed cannot hold, which means that if M is less than N, then there cannot exist such bijective correspondences, and hence this proves that if A is a finite set, then its cardinality can be uniquely determined by the set A. So like such is the proof of the corollary 6.5. Now next one is the corollary 6.6. Corollary 6.6 is, if B is a subset of a finite set A, then B is finite. Means subset of a finite set is finite. Like such is the corollary 6.6. Next, if B is a proper subset of A, then the cardinality of B is less than the cardinality of A. It is clear that if B is a proper subset of A, then the number of elements in B must be less than the number of elements in A. And as A is finite, therefore the cardinality of B should be less than equal to the cardinality of A. Like such is the corollary 6.6. Now next one is the corollary 6.7. Let B be a non-empty set, then the following are equivalent. Number first, B is finite. Number second, there is a surjective function from a section of the positive integers onto B. Number third, there is an injective function from B into a section of positive integers. So in the corollary 6.7, we have to prove that these three statements are logically equivalent. Logically equivalent, which means that each one of them implies the remaining, which means that statement 1 implies statement 2 and is implied by statement 2. Means 1 implies 2 and 2 implies 1. Similarly, 1 implies 3 and 3 implies 1. And finally, 2 implies 3 and 3 implies 2. Okay. And to prove this, obviously, it is sufficient to show that 1 implies 2, 2 implies 3 and 3 implies 1. So let us prove this one. So let capital B be a non-empty set. First of all, we will prove that 1 implies 2. Means we will suppose that B is a finite set. Then we have to prove that there exists a surjective function from a section of the positive integers onto the set B. That mapping is onto, that we have to show. Okay. So let us prove. Since B is non-empty, as we have supposed that B is a non-empty set, therefore for some integer n is a positive integer, someone, okay, a bijective function f from 1, 2, 3 up to n into B exists, and suppose that bijective correspondence is f. Okay, so obviously as B, so therefore as F from 1, 2, 3 up to N into B is a bijective correspondence, and 1, 2, 3 up to N is a finite set. So there is a bijective correspondence between a finite set and the B set, which means that B must be finite. Okay, let us prove this corollary. As we have to prove that these three statements are equivalent. Equivalent means logically equivalent. To prove this, we have to prove that each one of them implies the remaining two, which means that we have to prove that 1 implies 2 and 2 implies 1. Next, 1 implies 3 and 3 implies 1. And finally, 2 implies 3 and 3 implies 2. And instead of proving all these things, it is sufficient to prove that 1 implies 2, 2 implies 3 and 3 implies 1. Okay, so let us begin to prove this one. So at first, let us suppose that B is a non-empty set, and in the first part we will prove that 1 implies 2. 1 implies 2 means suppose that B is a finite set. Then we have to prove that there exists a surjective function from a section of the positive integers onto the set B. Okay, let us prove this one. So at first, let us suppose that B is a finite set. Okay, now as B is non-empty and it is finite, we have supposed, therefore for some positive integer N, there exists a bijective function from the set 1, 2, 3 up to N onto the set B. As there exists a bijective correspondence from the set 1, 2, 3 up to N to the set B, which means that obviously it is a surjective also. As it is bijective, therefore it is injective and surjective, and in the second part we require only the surjective. So therefore mapping F is surjective. So we have shown that 1 implies 2, which was very simple. Now next, now we will prove that 2 implies 3. Means we will suppose that there exists a surjective function from a section of the positive integers onto the set B. Then we have to prove that there exists a injective function from B into a section of the positive integers. Okay, so let us see. Now, if F is a function from 1, 2, 3 up to N to the set B, that we are supposing that it is surjective. Let us suppose that F is a surjective. Then we will define a mapping G from the set B to the set 1, 2, 3 up to N, which we define by the equation G of B is equal to the smallest element of F inverse of the element B. Okay, we compute the inverse image of B under the mapping F. Then whichever are the inverse images of B under the mapping F, among them which one is the smallest, that we consider as the G of B. Like such the mapping G is defined. Next, now as mapping F is surjective, surjective means onto, okay, therefore F inverse of singleton B is non-empty. Mapping is surjective, which means that each element of the range set has at least one pre-image in the domain. So therefore F inverse of B is non-empty. Then the well ordering property. Okay, then by the well ordering property of Z plus, we know that G of B is uniquely defined, and the mapping G is injective, because if B is not equal to B dash, then the sets F inverse of B and F inverse of B dash are disjoint. If B and B dash are different, then the inverse image of B and the inverse image of B dash are obviously disjoint sets. So therefore their smallest element must be different, and which means that the mapping G, which we are defined in such a way, is the injective mapping. Okay, so G is the injective mapping, which is the required thing that we wish to show. So this proves that 2 implies 3. Now next, finally we will prove that 3 implies 1. Okay, so for that purpose, we have to suppose that 3 implies 1 means we have to prove that if we have to suppose that if there is an injective function from B into a section of the positive integers, then B is finite. This we have to prove. So let us begin. So let us suppose that the mapping G from B to the set 1, 2, 3 up to N is injective mapping. Let us suppose that G which is defined from the set B into the set 1, 2, 3 up to n is injective. Then we have to show that the set B is finite. Okay. Then we change the range of G, and by changing this gives us bijection of set B with the subset 1, 2, 3 up to n. Okay. If we change the range of G, then we can get a bijection from set B to the subset of the set 1, 2, 3 up to n. Why? Because it is an injective function. So range set may have some unrelated elements also. So those unrelated elements, if we drop out, and if we keep only the related elements, means the images only in the range set, then obviously that mapping G will become surjective also. So as it is already injective and it can be made as surjective, which means that the correspondence is bijective correspondence. Okay. So in such a way we can form a bijective correspondence between B and the subset of the set 1, 2, 3 up to n, and therefore by the corollary B must be finite. Now lastly we have the corollary 6.8, and corollary 6.8 is finite unions and finite Cartesian products of finite sets are finite, which means that if we take finite number of finite sets, then their union is finite as well as their Cartesian product is finite. Okay, like such is the corollary 6.8. In today's class we have studied definition of finite set, definition of cardinality of a set, and also we have proved one lemma, one theorem and some corollaries based on it. With this we will stop here and we will continue in the next class. Thank you.